Dr. Bikaner has 30 years of clinical experience. He has worked in the clinics 24/7 during his professional career, and he has contributed a lot as far as the technical literature is considered, extension publications are considered, or also to discuss farmers' problem through different meetings. We are happy that such a renowned personality in the field of veterinary sciences is with us. And when we requested for this particular webinar, immediately there was a very positive response from Dr. Bikaner sir. And next 60 minutes will be with our beloved friend and Professor of Medicine, Dr. Bikaner sir. So over to Dr. Bikaner sir for technical deliberations. I welcome you, sir. I welcome you all participants, and also welcome the Faculty of Medicine from my department. Welcome, sir.
So thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
You are audible, sir. You can proceed, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. At the outset, I thank Associate Dean of College of Veterinary and Animal Sciences, Parbhani, for inviting me for this webinar. This was notified by OIE in November 2019. In 2020, the outbreak of this particular LSD was recorded even in Maharashtra. Dr. Gaikwad and his colleagues, they reported this disease from Sironcha Tehsil of Gadchiroli. So this map shows how the disease spread from Africa. So this yellow color indicates that the disease was restricted to these countries in Africa up to 1978. In 1979 to 2012, the disease spread to these countries, then slowly Middle East, and then during 2015-17, the Russia or the Kazakhstan, those countries, they faced the outbreaks. And from Russia, slowly this disease via Afghanistan and China came to Bangladesh and India. LSD is a viral disease, primarily affects the cattle and buffaloes. But when we compare cattle and buffaloes, the cattle, they are found to be more susceptible as compared to the buffaloes. Most of the workers, they have recorded the outbreaks in cattle. Very rare cases they have been reported in buffaloes, but definitely buffaloes are susceptible to LSD. Sheep and goats, they are unaffected. Even if they are mixed with the affected cattle and buffaloes, even if they are grazed with cattle and buffaloes, they do not suffer from this LSD. And even they don't act as a reservoir host for cattle and buffaloes. So this LSD virus is a host specific. It is specific for cattle and buffaloes. So breed wise, the exotic breeds like Jersey breed, Guernsey breed, they are found to be more susceptible as compared to the crossbreds and our Zebu cattle. Maybe because they are more prone to the ectoparasites due to their thin skin. Zebu cattle, they are less affected. Indian cattle, they are less affected. And the disease is always less severe in Indian cattle. All age groups, no doubt, they are susceptible to the LSD. But disease is more severe in the cause. And therefore, it is more important in case of the cause. In literature, it has been mentioned that there is no sex predilection. But under field conditions, the workers from the different parts who have recorded and reported cases, they find that the disease is more common, particularly in the bullocks. So, in my opinion, it varies from area to area. Maybe in a crossbred belt, if the disease occurs, then definitely the crossbreds and the exotic breeds, they are more susceptible. In other areas where the crossbred population is less, mainly the indigenous cattle, they are being reared, definitely the disease incidence is more in bullocks. Outbreaks, usually they occur during hot and humid climate, because this type of climate always favors the propagation of the vectors which are responsible for spread of this disease. And therefore, disease is more common during rainy season or summer season. So in our country, rainy season is most favorable season for the occurrence of this disease. But the disease started, no doubt, in the rainy season in the Orissa, but it spread to most of the states in our country during winter as well as summer. So this clearly indicates that the disease occurs throughout the year. Although the rainy season is good, it is conducive for the propagation of the vectors and the spread of the disease. So LSD is a viral disease, and is caused by LSD virus, that belongs to the genus Capripox, family Poxviridae. This is a large double-stranded DNA virus which is very stable, and most important, very little genetic variability. So genetic variation is not marked. Very important thing is that this particular virus is antigenically similar to sheep and goat pox virus. So LSD virus, lumpy skin disease virus, sheep pox virus, and goat pox virus, they are antigenically very similar, and they cross-react with each other. One more important thing is that this LSD virus is having only one serological type. So there is no serological variation amongst the strains of the LSD virus. So disease is a vector-borne disease, mainly a vector-borne disease, and it is transmitted by the arthropods. The disease is transmitted by arthropods mechanically, not biologically. The arthropods which are involved in the transmission of this disease include the blighting flies. And among the biting flies, most of the workers, they have reported that Stomoxys calcitrans is the important biting fly which is responsible for transmission of this disease. Even the other biting flies, they can, like a Tabanus and Leprosia, can also transmit the disease mechanically. Curicoids, they have also been reported to transmit the disease. Mosquitoes, particularly Aedes aegypti, this mosquito species is also responsible for the transmission of the disease.
Sir, I'd like to interrupt, sir. Sir, will you please begin presentation again?
And
Yeah. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, please present now. You can repeat it again. So you can disconnect and join in again, so all people can see presentation. Sorry for disturbance.
From which slide?
Oh, no, no. You can disconnect the call and again join in for present now, sir. Because your presentation is not visible to all the people.
Okay.
Okay. So disconnect.
Okay.
And join in again, sir. Minimize, sir. No issue.
Shall I?
Sir, again you try to show presentations one more time, sir. Just go for presentation slide, sir.
Okay. Presentation.
Minimize this, sir. Minimize this, sir. This PowerPoint. Yeah.
Resume your presentation.
Resume. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Resume presentation.
Resume.
Please. Yes, sir. Just minimize this one, sir.
Minimize.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hmm?
And PPT you start, sir. Sir, you go to presentation now, PowerPoint presentation. This is okay, sir. Present your streaming is okay. Yes, sir. That one. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible now, sir.
Okay. Is it visible?
No, no, sir. You have to open the presentation and go for presentation mode. PowerPoint file. This is fine, sir. The Google Meet is fine, sir. No issue. You can leave it as such, sir. No need to stop presenting.
Okay.
Just just open the presentation. PowerPoint. PPT full screen कर दो, sir. आणि F5 दाबून तो फुल याच्यामध्ये जा, सर. फुल स्क्रीन मध्ये जा, सर, फक्त. Yes, sir. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. It's visible now to all. Thank you. Sorry for disturbance, sir.
Oh, this is. This is another presentation. Okay.
Okay, करते. I hope all are getting presentation. I request sir to continue.
From which side slide I should continue? Hello? Hello? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Please continue, sir.
Please start from etiology slide.
Okay. So LSD is a viral disease caused by LSD virus belonging to the genus Capripox and a family poxviridi. This LSDV virus is a large double-stranded DNA virus which is very stable. Another important feature of this virus is that the genetic variation is very little bit. This virus is antigenically similar to sheep and goat pox virus. So this is another interesting and important feature of this virus. This particular virus is having only one serological type. It doesn't vary like FMD virus. Another important thing with this particular virus is that this particular virus has got similarity with that of sheep pox virus and a goat pox virus, and it cross-reacts serologically. LSD is transmitted mechanically by arthropods. Actually, LSD is considered as a vector-borne disease transmitted by the vectors which include the biting flies, culicoids, mosquitoes, and the ticks. But among all these 4 vectors, biting flies, those are considered most important in the transmission of this particular disease. And among the biting flies, Stomoxys calcitrans is most important vector considered responsible for the transmission of LSD. Even the Tabanus, Leprosia, these flies can also contribute to the mechanical transmission of this disease. Some workers have also reported the disease transmission due to culicoids and mosquitoes. So the disease may be transmitted from one animal to another animal through direct contact. But this route of transmission is considered as ineffective. Very rarely the disease is transmitted from one animal to another animal through direct contact. Semen of the infected animal contains the virus, and therefore natural mating or artificial insemination may transmit the infection to the females. Infected pregnant cows, they can deliver the cows with the skin lesions. So congenital infection may be picked up by the cows. The suckling cows may pick up the infection through milk or while suckling from the teat lesions. Virus is present mainly in the cutaneous lesions, scabs. The virus is also secreted through saliva, nasal discharge, milk, and semen. So these are the sources of infection for the healthy animals. The virus is sturdy and it can survive in a desiccated crust. Those are the cutaneous scabs up to 35 days and 18 days in air-dried hides. So the virus persists for a long period in the scabs. So the disease spread maybe for a short distance or long distance through different modes. So short distance spread from affected animal to the healthy animal, that occurs through insect vectors, maybe a mosquito, maybe a tick, or maybe a biting fly like a Stomoxys. Even the syringes, needles, infected needles can also transmit the infection from affected to the healthy animals. So this short distance spread is due to these 4 factors. Disease may spread from one place to another place, particularly from one district to another district, one region to another region or state, or maybe from one country to another country. due to long distance transportation. When the cattle, they are being transported for a long distance, maybe by using the vehicles. So these animals, infected animals, may introduce the infection to the healthy animals in a new area. Even the flies coming along with that infected animal, they may come along with that infected animal, and they may infect the healthy animals from a new area. The affected animals, they exhibit the different and type of the signs. Signs are very diagnostic. The incubation, as far as the incubation period is concerned, in experimental studies, the incubation period was found to be around 1 week, usually 7 to 8 days. Whereas in actual clinical cases, the incubation period varied from 1 week to 5 weeks. The first sign which is observed in an affected animal is a fever. The fever may last for 2 to 3 days up to 1 week. Personally, I have seen a fever. I have recorded a case of LSD which exhibited fever for 12 days. Many authors, many researchers, they have suggested that fever persists, maybe for high fever may persist for 1 week. But the experience, our experience, as well as the experience of the field veterinarians, we have recorded cases in recent days. Their observations are different. Some workers have recorded even a normal temperature. But usually it's a mild to moderate type of the fever. Even the fever varies from age to age. Usually in adult animals, the fever is mild or maybe absent when the case is reported. But in young cows, the fever is a consistent feature. Most of the times...
Sir, sorry to disturb you, sir. Someone tried to present it, some Dr. Nitin Sachans tried to present him. So your presentation went out. Please start again, click present now. And all are requested not to start presentation because it creates disturbances.
If you tell the identify, no need to start.
Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Kindly pin your presentation so that no one can present afterwards. Kindly pin your presentation on the right side. Your name, there are two names on your part. Anil Bikane bracket presentation. Kindly pin on that, click on that, it will be pinned.
On right side?
Right side. There is a list of people.
No, list of people is not visible to me.
Okay, no problem, sir. Please continue. We will see that. We will see that.
Okay. So I will continue from the beginning of this slide. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the incubation period of LSD is in experimental cases is around 1 week, but in the clinical cases, it has been reported to be 1 to 5 weeks. Actually, the disease starts with fever, and usually it lasts for 2 to 3 days. But in some cases, the fever may last for 1 week also. The degree of fever may vary from case to case. The fever may be mild, moderate, or may be high. Usually, high fever has been recorded in the initial stage, that too in crossbred animals, and especially in young calves. In adult animals, particularly in a zebu cattle, after 2 or 3 days, if the cases they are reported, the body temperature is usually normal, or there may be a mild thermal reaction. The affected animals, they may show inappetence to anorexia. The animals which are having a very high fever, severely affected, they are anorectic, whereas the animals which are mildly affected, having a mild fever or no fever, they show appetite, some appetite. In lactating animals, usually there is a drop in milk production. Lacrimation and nasal discharge, usually they are a serous type of nasal discharge and a serous type of lacrimal fluid that is being observed, including the slight salivation. So in initial stage, these signs are observed. After 2 or 3 days of onset of the illness, usually the multiple nodular swellings, they appear on the skin. The swellings, they increase gradually. The size of swelling increases. Even the number of nodular lesions, they increase day by day, maybe within 2 or 3 days after onset of fever. The size of lesion also varies from case to case. The lesions may vary from 5 mm to 50 mm, that is 0.5 centimeter to 5 centimeter in diameter. The predilection sites for lesions, they include the neck region. So usually the lesions, they start from the neck and the shoulder region, head, back, perineum, tail, limbs, genital organs, udder in males, even over the scrotum also the lesions are observed. The lesions, they start with the macule, then they appear like a papule, and then they become bigger in size, so that greater than 1 centimeter in size nodules. So circumscribed, firm, round and raised nodules, they are involving the skin, particularly epidermis, dermis, in some cases even subcutaneous tissue, and in rare cases even the underlying muscular tissue is also involved. So when the deeper tissues are involved, the size of lesion is more. The lesions, they are more firm, they are more bigger in size. The lesions may also occur on the mucous membranes of the buccal cavity, nasal cavity, or a respiratory tract. Those are a necrotic type of lesions. And when the necrotic lesions develop in the nostrils or the nasal cavity, the nasal discharge becomes a purulent. When the lesions, they develop in the ocular cavity or eyes, the lesions, the discharge becomes a purulent one. When the lesions, they develop in the oral cavity, salivation is increased. Here you can see some of the pictures of the LSD, animals suffering from LSD. This is a mild case of LSD. This is a bullock having a few nodular type of lesions over the body. This is a moderate to severe type of a case in a bullock, having a large number of, you can say, the multiple nodular swellings in the body. So these are the worst cases. Here you can see, these are the worst cases of LSD, in which you can see the large sized nodules, very, you can see, deep and extension. This picture, in this picture you can see there are typical nodules over the developed region. Those are very big in size. They are even more than you see the 5 centimeter, and those are very thick, involving the muscular tissue. The another important sign, apart from fever and the nodular lesions, multiple nodular lesion, it is a lymph node enlargement. So prescapular prefemoral lymph nodes, they are enlarged. In most of the cases, the prescapular lymph nodes are enlarged. Here you can very well see that the prescapular lymph node is enlarged. In this calf, you can very well see that the parotid lymph gland is enlarged. So superficial lymph nodes are enlarged. Then in some cases, maybe less than 5% cases, the edema of limbs may develop, edema of brisket may develop. Here you can see the brisket edema like a traumatic pericarditis. Here also you can see the edema of brisket and develop region with a swelling over the limbs. When the limbs are swollen, the lameness is observed. So in a few cases, maybe in less than 5% cases, the lameness is also observed maybe in 1 or 2 legs. The affected animals, and particularly severely affected animals, anorectic animals, they lose their body weight day by day. They lose their body weight day by day, and in lactating animals, the milk production is drastically decreased. In a few animals, usually mouth lesions they develop, particularly in a severe type of cases where the lesions are extensive on body, the mouth lesions may develop, even the lesions in the respiratory tract may develop. I've personally seen one buffalo which should develop a typical ulcerative type of lesions. So necrotic plaques will develop, and the center, you can say the ulcerative type of lesions, they develop in the mouth cavity or a buccal cavity, or even dental pad and lips. Even the lesions may develop in the nostrils, lesions may develop in the trachea. Abortions and infertility has been reported in some cases. Death may occur in a worst type of cases. And usually death occurs in animals which are showing, you can say, the respiratory signs. Animals, they usually die because of a severe type of pneumonia. Infected animals, they may recover within a period of 2 to 3 weeks. Usually, this is the recovery period for all types of pox diseases. Here you can see the skin lesions in the legs and on top of the joints. When the skin lesions develop on the legs, joints, cutaneous tissue, muscular tissue may sometimes touch to the tendons also. And in those animals, the signs of lameness, they are being observed. You can see the brisket swelling. So, and here you can very interestingly, this lymph node is enlarged. Lymph node is enlarged, and you can see there are you can see the rosary of nodules. They are connecting to each other, maybe a lymphatic vessel, and even the reason for swelling of the limbs may be the involvement of these lymph nodes and blockage of the lymph flow caused by the nodular swellings. And you can see the ulcerative type of lesions here, ulcerative lesions in the nostrils. Here over muzzle also you can see the ulcerative type of lesion. Here over lip also you can see ulcerative type of lesion. So ulcerative lesions in the nostrils, muzzle, and the buccal cavity. So these type of the signs are observed in severe type of the cases, and these cases usually take a longer time for a recovery, and the milk production is remarkably affected, appetite is remarkably affected, health get deteriorated in such severely affected animals. The cows, again in cows particularly, and even in large animals, adult animals, even the crossbred animals, the ocular lesions they develop. In any animal, ocular lesion can develop, but just I'm sharing that young animals, in young animals, the ocular lesions are more common. Here you can see the lacrimation is there, plucking of eyelid, and corneal ulcers they may develop. And in the later stages, this because of secondary bacterial infection, the purulent type of ocular discharge may appear. You can see the ulcerative type of skin lesion before a scab formation. It's a single lesion, how the lesions appear. This is a fresh lesion in the initial stage. You can see the lesions over the udder and teeth. Many times these lesions, they appear like urticaria or allergic type of manifestation. So this is the ulcerative type of lesion over the teat. Here you can see this lesion is an old type of lesion. Maybe after such type of the lesion is likely to develop maybe 8 to 10 days or 15 days after onset of the illness. So the scab gets detached, the cover gets detached, and the ulcers, they are being seen. So in the later stages, once the scab is detached, the flies may sit and the maggoted wounds may develop. So skin lesions, different stages of the skin lesions. I would like to share this particularly. Here you can see the removal of the scab, how the ulcer appears. So here you see the held up lesions. So progressively the lesions they heal. So these are the cases. This is the case which we have recorded in our clinic, and which we treated it for a 3 weeks period. This is the picture which I got from one of the WhatsApp group. Maybe I think this case was, you can see the picture was posted on allopathy group by veterinarian from Uttar Pradesh. So blood, when the blood samples are investigated, when they are subjected to CBC, usually the total erythrocyte count is normal. So elevated, maybe because of decreased water intake, so that may be there. But leukopenia, just like other viral diseases, leukopenia and to some extent the thrombocytopenia may develop even in this viral disease in uncomplicated type of cases. The serological serobiochemical analysis reveals elevated levels of total proteins and globulin levels with reduced albumin. The glucose levels may be elevated, maybe because of anorexia. Glucose levels, they are reduced maybe because of anorexia, whereas the total protein is elevated maybe because of dehydration. The enzymes like alkaline phosphatase, lactate dehydrogenase, creatine phosphate, phosphokinase, these levels, the enzyme levels are elevated maybe because of a cellular damage. The important thing is that in this particular viral disease, this reduced levels of glutathione and elevated lipid peroxidation, MDA, these two parameters indicate increased oxidative stress in affected animals. So from affected animals, we'll have to collect the samples for the confirmation of the disease. Skin biopsies and the scabs can be collected in a phosphate buffer saline and stored at a 4 degrees centigrade. This is the best sample. This is the most ideal sample which yields virus. So this is most suitable for CDPCR. And nasal discharge in PBS stored at 4 degrees centigrade. So this is also somewhat useful. EDTA in blood in EDTA vials can also be collected. That can be used for hematology as well as for the PCR. But this is not found to be a suitable type of sample. Whole blood samples may be collected to separate the serum for virus. You can see the virus neutralization test. Samples collected, they need to be referred to the National Institute of High Security Animal Diseases Laboratory at Bhopal. See, I think during discussion, one slide skipped because of maybe a disturbance in the presentation that I would like to share with all of you regarding the epidemiology. So here I would like to discuss this particular point, that high-yielding animals, crossbred cows, they are susceptible to this disease, and the morbidity rates, they are variable. In general, they are in between 10 to 20%, and it ranges from 2 to 45%. So morbidity is high in whenever the outbreaks they occur in a newer area. Once the disease is endemic, the morbidity gets reduced. When we compare the morbidity in between cattle and buffaloes, the morbidity is high in cattle as compared to the buffaloes. The Dr. Gaikwad and his team reported an outbreak of LSD from Gadchiroli district. According to them, so they see they have recorded the cases in 719 cases of cattle. They didn't find any buffalo affected during that outbreak. So the morbidity was found to be 12.43%, and they have, as far as the mortality is concerned, according to them, the mortality is 0. So in general, the mortality is less than 10%, and it is in between 1 to 5%. Whenever outbreak occurs in neo animals, non-immune animals in a newer area, the mortality is likely to be more. Once the disease is endemic, the mortality is less, and usually it is 1%. Even some workers have reported just 0.03% mortality, whereas in some workers they have recorded the mortality maybe up to 10%. So it varies from area to area. Then the animal factor also plays important role. One more thing I would like to share, that this disease is not, although the the skin lesions are very prominent, and the lesions, they appear ugly, animal appears ugly. Therefore, the farmers, they have fear in their mind that the disease, they may contract the disease. But researchers, they have reported that this disease is not having any zoonotic importance. It doesn't affect or doesn't infect human beings. As far as the economic importance of the disease is concerned, this disease causes reduced production. In most of the outbreaks, wherever the crossbreds are there, high-yielding animals are affected. The production gets reduced during the disease period, not only during disease period, recovery period, but the long-term reduction in the milk yield observed. The body condition is also being lost. So definitely the fertility is also adversely affected. So the lesions are extensive and the hide is damaged. In case of extensive type of lesions, when there is a delay in treatment, severe cases, the damage to the skin is a permanent one. Infertility and abortions, they have been recorded in pregnant animals. The abortions may occur. Whereas the infertility may be observed maybe during postpartum period. Indirect losses also stem from restrictions on a cattle movement and a trade. Whenever there was an outbreak of this LSD in Orissa, the other countries, they banned import of the animal products from our country, some of the countries. Usually the mortality is negligible, and mortality occurs in severely affected animals. And in severely affected animals, diagnosis is very easy in a clinical cases. There is even no need to go for a postmortem examination. And in mild cases, the lesions are few, and if the animal dies, then usually animal they doesn't die when the lesions are few, and we may not get any lesion even on a postmortem examination, exceptionally if animal dies. If a severe case of LSD dies, then we may find such type of the lesions, ulcerative type of lesions in the mouth cavity. Here you can see the ulcers, variable sizes. You can see the ulcers in trachea, in the nostrils, even in the gallbladder. You can see the nodular swellings, and this is the skin. Here you can see the cross section of the skin. Here is a nodule. So these lesions are very typical and indicate the lumpy skin disease. How to diagnose a lumpy skin disease? My opinion, the diagnosis of lumpy skin disease is very easy. So history, based on history, we can tentatively diagnose the cases of LSD or outbreak. So presence of large number of non-human or native animals, and this is possible only in a area which is not earlier affected by this LSD disease. Abundance of vectors like stomoxis and uncontrolled animal movements are usually drivers for extensive LSD outbreaks. The primary case in a new area, the primary case is usually observed with the introduction of a new animal into or in a close proximity to the heart. So whenever a new animal is introduced, the infection is likely to occur. The clinical signs are very typical. The fever may be observed in the initial stage, which is either accompanied or followed by multiple nodular swellings. On hematological examination, there is leukopenia and thrombocytopenia. Already we have discussed about the material to be collected. RT-PCR is being used for confirmation of LSD. Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, sir. Continue, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
PPT is visible?
Yeah, it's visible, sir. PPT.
Okay. So this LSD needs to be differentiated from a pseudo-lumpy skin disease, that is bovine herpes virus mammalitis. This bovine herpes mammalitis is characterized by the lesions mostly over the udder and teeth. The lesions, lesions, they are superficial when we compare it with the LSD lesions. LSD lesions, they are more deep. They involve dermis, subcutaneous tissue, even sometimes muscular muscles also. And therefore, they are more, you can say, the firm and deep. Whereas these lesions are superficial. Here, the course of the disease is shorter. LSD, it lasts for 2 to 3 weeks. The course is shorter, and the disease is always less severe. Usually, the systemic reactions and the signs of systemic involvement are less marked. The another disease which needs to be differentiated, that is a pseudo cowpox. So lesions occur only on the tits and udder, and these lesions are different. These lesions are different from the nodular lesions of the LSD. In my opinion, and even in the beginning when we started getting cases, I was also getting confused the cases of LSD with the insect bites and urticaria. Many veterinarians, they suspect the cases of LSD for allergic reaction or urticaria or maybe for insect bites. But in insect bites and urticaria, definitely the lesions, they are more superficial, but initially rather difficult. But the course is shorter. This is very important. This point is to be remembered, that the course is shorter. There the lesions in LSD, even after treatment, the lesions, they gradually gets reduced. Whereas in case of insect bites and urticaria, you must have experience after giving antihistaminics and steroids, many times the even urticaria gets vanished or gets subsided within 6 to 8 hours also. Sometimes it may take 24 hours. But in LSD, the lesions, they persist. And in insect bites and urticaria, you can see the systemic signs of systemic involvement are absent. Appetite and milk yield and other things, they are least affected. So the lesions, only you can find a cutaneous type of lesions. Another disease that needs to be differentiated, that is the bovine papular stomatitis caused by parapox virus. So here you can see the papular type of lesions. Typically, you can see the papular type of a lesion over the muzzle, and even such type of lesions may develop on inside of the lip and even a dental pad. So lesions occur only in the mucous membranes of the mouth. the lesions, they doesn't occur over the body. Here, one thing I would like to make it very clear, that in bovine papillary stomatitis, lesions are restricted to mouth cavity, whereas in LSD, the lesions, they occur mostly over skin, and in some cases, severely affected animals, the lesions, they may also occur in the buccal cavity or the or nasal cavity. So those lesions are accompanying these skin lesions. Here, skin lesions are absent. Next disease which needs to be differentiated, that is demodicosis. Demodicosis is also prevalent in our animals. And demodicosis cases, they are mostly occurring in case of the cows. I have not seen any case in adult animals. In cows, heifers, the disease is observed, and generally the lesions, they are seen over neck, wither, back, and flanks. Here, the soft tissues, they are not involved. Generally, we don't find lesions over udder, perineum, vulva, or scrotum. And mostly, we have seen lesions over the neck region. Some regions may be found over even the face region, but mostly neck and shoulder region. And these lesions are again a nodular type of lesions. In demodicosis, signs of fever and anorexia, I mean systemic signs are absent. Animal continues to eat normally, produce normally, behave normally. This is one of the differentiating feature. Another differentiating feature, in case of demodicosis, when you will squeeze it, then the pus will come out. And when you take the pus over the slide, and if you examine it under the microscope, you will find abundant number of, you can see the Demodex bovis. So the nodular lesions are very different from the nodular lesions of LSD. Then another disease, that is ringworm, needs to be differentiated. But I think there should not be any confusion between ringworm and the LSD. Because in ringworm, we have never seen a nodular type of lesions. So absence of multiple nodules, skin lesions are present, but those are very superficial. They are whitish in nature, alopecia is present, and they are typically grayish white. So, and mostly in the beginning, they are circular in nature, ring-like, but never you will find the nodules. There is no systemic reaction, appetite, water intake, everything is normal, including body temperature. The another parasitic disease needs to be differentiated, that is onchocerciasis. So here dermal lesions may develop. Here also there is no systemic reaction, temperature, appetite, water intake, all of the things are normal. Only will find the cutaneous lesions, and here the cutaneous lesions, they are mostly marked over the ventral aspect of the body, ventral midline. Hypoderma, this disease also needs to be differentiated from hypoderma infection. In hypoderma infection also, the lesion, usually there is no systemic reaction. Skin lesions are present. Definitely those are nodular type of lesions. But in hypoderma, again, the lesions, they are mostly restricted to the dorsal part of the body. So as against this onchocerciasis and hypoderma infection, the lesions of LSD, they are generalized. Lesions of the LSD, they are generalized. I also feel that the LSD should be differentiated from theileriosis. This is my opinion, because whatever cases I have attended, maybe sporadic or rare cases personally which I attended, the signs they present a picture more or less similar to that of theileriosis. Theileriosis is also characterized by fever and lymph node enlargement, and even LSD is also characterized by fever and enlargement of lymph node. Very rarely in theileriosis also cutaneous lesions develop. So cutaneous lesions, if they are present, the CBC should be performed, and the possibility of theileriosis can be ruled out. Because based on temperature and lymph node enlargement, we cannot distinguish theileriosis from LSD. But if you will perform the CBC, immediately we can get the idea based on hemoglobin and PCV and TEC values. If they are normal to elevated, it is LSD. If these values are you see suboptimal, subnormal, then maybe a thalidosis. I have seen a case of LSD which was also having mild to moderate type of thalidosis. Whenever there is immunosuppression, and immunosuppression is a characteristic of this disease, leukopenia is there. So thalidosis is likely to get flared up in cases of LSD. So we are likely to get LSD plus thalidosis combination, even sometimes maybe in a crossbred animals in a severe cases. So from that point of view, again we'll have to investigate. Some workers have quoted it needs to be differentiated from FMD, but I think the FMD lesions, they are very typical, where only the lesions, they are restricted to foot and mouth. No lesion you will find on the skin or the body. Whereas in case of LSD, lesions, mainly they are found over the skin, and secondarily they are found in the maybe on the buccal cavity or inside the mouth cavity. Bovine epiviral fever, it also occurs, it's a vector-borne viral disease. It is also characterized by fever and lymph node enlargement. But and even the CBC findings of LSD and bovine epiviral fever, they are more or less same. But one interesting feature is that bovine epiviral fever is having a transient fever, and you all know that the course of the disease is very short, and the recovery usually occurs within 2 to 3 days. Whereas in case of LSD, it takes a longer time. Being a viral disease, there is no specific treatment for LSD. But we advise symptomatic treatment for prevention of a secondary bacterial infections and the complications which are likely to cause case fatality. So in affected animals, we'll have to give a course of antibiotics for 5 to 7 days. In my opinion, the type of antibiotic is not important. Any broad spectrum antibiotic that can be given for 5 to 7 days. Mild cases, they can recover with even 3 to 5, they need only 3 to 5 doses, but usually I advise 5 doses. In severely affected cases, they may need antibiotics for even 11 days, 10 days, particularly the severely affected cows which are suffering from pneumonia. Most of the workers, they have used streptopenicillin from Telangana. Most of the workers, they have used streptopenicillin. Even from the Gadchiroli district, the workers, they have used ampicillin and streptopenicillin. I generally advise the fluoroquinolones. They are cheaper and they can also be given easily. So any antibiotic can be given, any broad spectrum antibiotic can be given for 5 to 7 days. We can go for a simple and economic type of antibiotic. Then next, NSAIDs are important in all the cases. To reduce the inflammation, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs are indicated. You can use, some workers say use meloxicam, some may have used even flunitrazine. Meloxicam is a safer, cheaper, and economic type of NSAID, which can be very well used, maybe for 5 days, maybe for 5 days. Wherever there is a pyrexia, we'll have to go for a combination of meloxicam plus paracetamol, or nimesulide plus paracetamol. Or if you are using flunitrazine, you'll have to give additional dose of paracetamol, at least maybe for 1 or 2 days, or maybe up to 3 days when the temperature is high. So paracetamol will give relief from the pyrexia, and animal will appear somewhat comfortable. Then third drug, which is to be given in all the cases, that is antihistaminic preparation. CPM, chlorpheniramine maleate or pheniramine maleate, can be used for 5 to 7 days. So then next is the multivitamins. You can use the multivitamin type of preparations containing vitamin A, D, E, as well as B complex. Or you can use you can give a single dose of vitamin A, single dose of vitamin E and selenium, and you can continue with the vitamin B complex. Actually, vitamin A will improve the non-specific immunity. Vitamin E and selenium will reduce the oxidative stress, and definitely they will improve the immunity, or they will boost the immunity of the animal. It is a single dose of you can say vitamin E selenium preparation, or maybe if you are giving oral preparation, you can continue. There are some preparations available in the market which can be continued for 4 or 5 days on a regular basis. Vitamin B complex is helpful, that can be continued for 5 to 6 days. So these are the minimum drugs which are to be given in affected cases. Application of antiseptic spray or ointment, if the cases are treated in the initial stage, then usually ulcerations doesn't occur or develop. The skin lesions are not complicated, and there is no need of even antiseptic spray or ointment. But if the cases they are presented and treated in somewhat late stage, in that case there will be ulcerations, there will be lesions, there are likely chances of maggoted wound. So we'll have to go for antiseptic spray or any ointment. If 1 or 2 lesions, we can use ointment, but otherwise spray we should prefer. In cases wherever the mouth lesions they get developed, we'll have to treat the mouth lesions by using the PP lotion. So give mouthwash with PP lotion and apply borogracin maybe 2 to 3 times in a day. So that will definitely help in healing the ulcerative type of the lesions in the mouth cavity, and the appetite of the animal will be improved. Because the animals, they face difficulty in swallowing, or they face difficulty in mastication. And therefore animals which are having a mouth lesion, we should offer them a soft type of the diet, succulent type of the grass, or a soft type of the fodder, till the lesions they get improved. Even in severely affected animals, where the anorexia continues for a longer duration, we love to give the fluid therapy. So if the signs of pneumonia are evident, particularly in the cows or crossbred animals which are very severely affected, pneumonic, having nasal discharge, coughing, we should go for a hypertonic type of fluids. Hypertonic type of the fluids, maybe a dextrose 20% with electrolyte preparations, those are available. And animals which are not having signs of pneumonia, you can go for isotonic type of fluids like ringer's lactate, dextrose, or maybe NADs. In general, the mortality can be reduced to great extent by instituting a proper treatment. Most of the field veterinarians who have treated the cases and made the follow-up, they are of the opinion that the recovery rate is excellent if the cases they are treated in the initial stage. Very rarely the animals they die if they are treated properly. Very recently I have come across with mortality in 2 young cows which were exhibiting a severe signs of pneumonia. Now we should concentrate on prevention and the control of this disease. See, even Africa, the disease recorded for the first time in 1929, and since then, means for the last 100 years, the disease is endemic in Africa. Still, Africa is not able to, you can say, eradicate this disease. But we can minimize the incidence of this disease by instituting a proper control measures. Whenever we find any sick animal or infected animal, immediately we'll have to isolate that animal. We should isolate affected animal, infected animal from a healthy animal. We should not allow that animal to accompany healthy animal for grazing. And these animals needs to be kept far away from the healthy animals. Any animal suspected for febrile nodular lesion should not be introduced into our herd or into our farm. That should be kept in a quarantine, and when it is found negative or recovered, then it should be introduced. This is another important thing that ensure a strict control of animal movement from affected areas to free areas. We have already discussed how the disease is transported or transmitted for a short distance, long distance. Usually, the disease is you can say transmitted to the long distance through vehicles and animal movement. So, restrictions on animal movement from the infected area is important, and we should stop cattle markets located within a 10-kilometer radius of epicenter of the infection. So this is the first step which we are expected to take whenever we record outbreak or of this particular disease in any area. Then we should not arrange the cattle shows, or we should not participate in fairs and shows. Then whenever there is a mortality, that animal carcass should be disposed of by deep burial, which is 6 to 8 feet deep. So vector control is important. Being a vector-borne disease, if we control the vectors, it is very difficult to control the vectors. Everybody knows, but we can control the vectors to the great extent by adopting a proper, you can say, the measures. Effort should be made to reduce the vector population in affected areas to minimize the mechanical transmission. And here, the many researchers, they have suggested use of insect repellents, fly repellents, or insecticides. Those are to be used on animal body and animal shed. So that will help in reducing the vector population. So this is one of the measures which we can take. We can spray these insecticides in the cattle shed. We can spray the insecticides on animal body, maybe at an interval of 3 to 4 days in a shed during the risk period, during the outbreak period, and even for the animal body. For the control of these vectors, we have to adopt the integrated pest management. I think Professor Narladkar, who is a renowned scientist working in the area of integrated pest management, he always advised so integrated pest management for control of the vectors. So he usually advises the measures to be taken for control of ectoparasites in the animal body, in the shed, as well as in the vicinity or in the environment. So we'll have to take care of cracks and crevices in the shed itself. So we'll have to fill up these cracks and crevices where everybody knows that the ticks, they are hiding. The cattle shed, animal shed should be kept clean. Frequently, the dung should be removed. The proper disposal of dung is very important. The flies, they are laying the eggs in the dung. So cleanliness of the shed. But apart from cleanliness of the shed, the cleanliness of the environment area in the vicinity of the cattle shed is also important. There should not be waterlogging, and so the area must be clean. So if there is a growth of any shrubs and all these things that needs to be removed, there should be a proper drainage. There should not be any accumulation of water nearby, you see, the animal shed. That will help in reducing the vector population. For control of the flies, particularly the Liporaja-like flies which lay eggs in the or the dung, Dr. Narladkar always just to advise the covering of the dung by maybe a polythene. That will help in breaking the life cycle of these flies. Then alternative to our insecticides, that is a herbal type of insecticides. Those can be very well used. And again, Professor Narladkar has developed this particular formulation, and he always used to advise the farmers that neem seed kernel extract can be very well used for the control of vectors, maybe a ticks, flies, fleas, and you can see the lice in the cattle shed, on the animal body, or in the shed. And this is a simple way of preparing a neem seed kernel extract. So you'll have to take a 5 kg of dried, you can see the seed kernel. It is to be soaked overnight in water, and it is to be powdered. You'll have to grind the 5 kg of the seed kernel, and then it is to be soaked in the water for 12 hours. Then it is to be filtered through muslin cloth. Then you can add, you'll have to add 200 gram of soap to make the volume 100 liter. And this can be sprayed on animal body and in the premises. So this is being fresh. It is a potent repellent and insecticidal and acaricidal. It is cost effective, and it can be made very fresh. Daily it can be made. It can be effective against a range of pests. So sanitary measures, they need to be taken. Actually, the virus is present in the scabs, and those scabs may contaminate the animal shed. So animal shed floor may remain infected. The even the equipments, milking equipments, instruments, the present in the cattle shed or animal shed, they may remain infected, and therefore sanitary measures, they need to be adopted. Now during COVID, everybody knows how to sanitize and how to disinfect the area. The sodium hypochlorite is preferred. Just 2 to 3% solution of sodium hypochlorite can be used for a sanitization of the cattle shed, equipments, walls, etc. So alternative to this 1% formalin or 1:33 dilution, iodine in 1:33 ratio, that can also be used. So important thing is that the infection may be carried by veterinarian from one herd to another herd, and therefore again the veterinarian has to take care, and he has to adopt again a sanitary measures. He has to change the days, and again he has to sanitize his vehicles. Again, he can also carry the infection via maybe a 2-wheeler or a 4-wheeler vehicle. So the sanitization of the vehicles which are applying to the affected animal holdings or farm, that should also be sanitized or disinfected. I'm coming to the last part. Actually, for prevention of LSD, the vector control is important, and when there is an outbreak, these are sanitary measures that are important. But for prevention of this particular LSD, the researchers, they have tried different types of the vaccines. In Africa, LSD Nithling strain vaccine has been tried, has been used. Goatpox vaccine, sheeppox vaccines, they have also been tried. And so in India, actually, LSD vaccine is not available. Goatpox, sheeppox vaccines are available. There is a recent paper which I have seen, which it was published just 2 months back. I have referred the literature. So sheeppox vaccine, that worker has tried sheeppox and goatpox vaccines for their safety in case of the cattle and buffaloes. And vaccines, sheeppox as well as goat tissue pox vaccine, goatpox vaccines, they were found to be safe in cattle. They were found to be safe in cattle. And he has also compared sheeppox and goatpox. And here goatpox virus, that is G20 LKV vaccine strain, elicits strong protective response in the cattle against LSD than sheeppox virus. And therefore, goatpox vaccine, as it is more effective than the sheeppox vaccine, it is being recommended for prevention of a spread and even a control of LSD in animals. Goatpox vaccine and sheeppox vaccine are recommended only in the countries where sheeppox and goatpox are endemic. In India, both the diseases are endemic, and therefore we can use chickenpox and goatpox vaccine for prevention of LSD. And among these two, goatpox is considered more superior, and therefore it is recommended. Some workers, some field veterinarians, they have also shared. Yesterday, one of the veterinarian from Kerala also shared that they have used the goatpox vaccine, and even in a pregnant animal, and they couldn't find any adverse reaction. In Maharashtra, in Gadchiroli district, Dr. Gaikwad and Amol Gaikwad and his team, they have vaccinated nearly 9,553 or so animals. Around 10,000 animals they have vaccinated against LSD with the goatpox vaccine. They have used goatpox vaccine at the rate of 1 ml subcut, cows above 4 months within the radius of that is recommended within a radius of 5 kilometers where the outbreak has occurred. And they have also observed no adverse reaction either in the pregnant animal or even in the other animals. So in general, this vaccine is safe. This vaccine is safe, and that can be used for prevention of LSD in near future also. So with this, I conclude my lecture. Once again, I thank the organizers for giving me opportunity to share my theoretical knowledge as well as the little bit of experience which I'm having in the last 8 or 9 months. Actually, the field veterinarians from Telangana, Maharashtra, even Karnataka, they have shared the experiences personally with me, and that experience also I have shared with all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we have received some questions. Few of them have been already covered in your ending slides. I'll just go through few of them, sir. Sir, can you describe what is the fate of the fetus in case of LSD? Dr. Prabhakar Vishwas asks a question, sir.
Fate of?
Fate of fetus in case of LSD.
Yes. Already I have mentioned that abortions may sometimes occur. Abortions may sometimes occur, and even the newborn cause, they may pick up the congenital infection.
Okay, sir. Sir, Dr. Vishwas have question, can LSD and ephemeral fever occur at the same time in an animal?
LSD and?
Ephemeral fever.
LSD and ephemeral fever. I have not come across with any such type of reference. But culicoid, you see, culicoids, they can transmit both bovine ephemeral fever as well as LSD. But I have not come across with any reference.
Okay, thank you.
Occurrence of a concurrent occurrence of these two diseases.
Okay, Dr. Khanvilkar questions, can early diagnosis of LSD is possible, and can there be a better control measures in a vector population group, sir?
So early diagnosis is possible because the lesions are very typical. If see, in the beginning, fever accompanied by appearance of you can see the multiple nodules on the body. Maybe on a second or third day, it is a diagnostic. It is very characteristic, and we can, if you institute the treatment, we can reduce the economic losses, and immediately we can even adopt the control measures.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Dr. Shrikant Chaudhary questions, are there any chances of a recurrence of disease after complete treatment and curing of the disease?
Yes, you see, in case of the LSD, the active natural immunity develops, and usually animals, they do not pick up the infection. I have come across with one reference that once the animal recovers from LSD, it is not likely to suffer from LSD again.
Okay. All remaining questions which have been communicated, they have already at some or other place have been covered in your PPT, sir. Sir, with your permission, we will be sharing your email ID with the participants.
Okay.
If they have any query, they can contact you directly. Now I request Dr. M.F. Siddiqui sir for vote of thanks, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Satish Gaikwad, sir. I'm here to present the vote of thanks. First of all, I'm very much thankful to the Dr. A.U. Bikane, sir, President, VIPM and University Head, Veterinary Clinical Medicine, Maksoom Nagpur, who has accepted our invitation for the delivering of this webinar in such a short period of time, and Bikane sir has delivered such a nice and informative lecture. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I am also thankful to our university authorities. First of all, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. A.M. Patulkar, sir, and Dr. A.P. Sonkumar, sir, Dean and DI, and Dr. N.V. Kurkure, sir, Director of Research, and Dr. P.T. Jadhav, sir, Director of Extension. I am also thankful to the Associate Dean and Chairman of this webinar, Dr. N.M. Markandi, sir, who is the main force regarding the organization of this event. And I am also thankful to the VIPM Executive Committee. First of all, Dr. D.S. Meena, sir, Dr. S.K. Rawal, sir, who are the Vice President of the VIPM, and Dr. Ashok Kumar, sir, General Secretary, Dr. Mukesh Srivastava, Dr. Nilesh Sharma, Executive General Secretary, Dr. M.K. Gupta, who is the Treasurer, and most important, Dr. Nilesh Sindhu, who is the Social Media in charge, who has made the Facebook Live possible in such a short period of time. Thank you very much to all the executive committees, and I am thankful to our department mates and the organizing committee members, Dr. S.T. Borikar sir, Dr. M.P. Sakri ma'am, Dr. Tawhid Shafi, Dr. Mujib Sayyed, and the most important who has supported a lot, Dr. Satish Gaikwad and the Dr. Alok Wankar, who has made the many efforts for the successful organization of this event. And at last, I am thankful to all the participants who joined for this webinar, and with the permission, I will declare that this webinar is over. Thank you very much.
Okay.